Welcome to the Tez Down podcast today. How y'all doing? I'm Tez. I'm the dude, man. That's me. Today we got an interesting show for y'all. The title of today's episode is "You Are Not Welcome." You are not welcome. So in today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about what happened last night on Monday Night Football, or Thursday Night Football, I should say, and who were the people that were most unhappy about it. They dubbed it the Icy Hot Bowl because both quarterbacks that were starting were over 40 years old. Dinosaurs in football years, as they would say. Soft Rain is already in the building. 333 Soft Rain, how you doing? How you doing? We're gonna keep it going today. Oh yeah, we got a full show for y'all. Start off with sports. Let's get it cracking and seeing what happened over here. Before we dive into that, the rundown of today's episode, or should I say the test down of today's episode, we're going to go to check on the Curry situation. We were going to do that yesterday, but we decided to save it for today. And what happens when you contact people at their residences or their places and you're not supposed to be there? The title of today's episode, again, is "You're Not Welcome." Remember that. It's going to be an overarching theme in today's episode. You're not welcome. I'll tell you, be the first one to tell you you're not welcome. We're going to do this without sound, guys. So bear with me. We're going to do it without sound. I'm going to narrate it for you. I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good time, a good way to do stuff. Let's just speed this bad boy up a half. All right. Show you guys how this bad boy, and he kicked that field goal on him. Aware, Joe Flacco started the season on the Browns, and the funniest thing about Joe Flacco starting the Browns was he was one of the key characters used to keep Shedeur Sanders down and not in a position to start, play, or win in these games. As you know, it's interesting because one of the premier receivers in the league, Jerry Jeudy, has been having a down season because nobody's throwing him the football. Flacco wasn't throwing him the football. Dylan Gabriel's definitely not throwing him the football. Shedeur hasn't gotten a chance to throw him the football. You know, we might not even be able to see Shedeur ever play in this uniform just because I don't think they want him to play. What up, Big Skull? How you doing, man? So we're gonna hear about from one of my favorite coaches in the league, which is Coach Mike Tomlin.
Way back to a 2nd and 20.
You know, a tough, hard-fought game, but certainly got to give credit to those guys, the Bengals. They did what was required to win. They made a few more plays than we did. Just from an analysis perspective, I just thought, the first half, we allowed them to run the ball too much. I think they had about 100 yards rushing at the half, and then we turned the ball over a couple times. And so that just kind of set a negative trajectory, and we're fighting uphill the rest of the way. I certainly appreciate the fight. But, man, we got to be cleaner. We got to be better. And we weren't tonight. And that's life in this business. We certainly got to learn from it, man, and keep pushing. But I'd be remiss if I didn't compliment them, man. They fought their tails off, man. They won the game, and they're certainly deserving. No real injuries to speak of. Had some bumps and bruises associated with play. Next time we get together, I'll provide some details in that area if necessary.
Anyone? As the game went on, you think about double teaming Chase Moore? What was your thoughts?
We played these guys a bunch. We double teamed them some. We double teamed 5 some. It's a mix. A mix is required. They got depth and talent. Just like the one play 80 made down the middle, we were doubling them both, and they were one-on-one in that circumstance. And so, there's many ways you can analyze it, but the bottom line is they made more plays than we did.
Like defensively against the run, what was the issue, especially during the second?
They popped a couple. They did, man. We didn't do a good enough job of gap control. They popped a couple big ones, and it kind of created an unsteady environment.
Especially disappointed with the secondary, considering sort of focus this offseason was getting these guys to play these Bengals.
Yeah, we won't be defined by this performance, but it certainly was disappointing tonight.
Mike, you feel it all in the second that maybe you got away from the run with the success you were having in the first?
I don't. We turned the ball over a couple of times. It's 60 minutes of football. We ran it well in the second half. Any pocket of the game you can isolate and, have judgment, so we don't worry about that. I thought we ran the ball effectively largely over the course of the game.
Was that a flea-flicker call in the first half?
It was.
I think you said earlier in the season, after getting that much turnover, trying to go turnover with everybody, is this a game where a couple turnovers could mask some of what you were giving up on defense?
When we're not getting it, we better secure it. I think it's the totality of it. We work as a collective. And so if we're not getting it, we certainly better protect it. And so we didn't do a good enough job of getting it tonight. We didn't do a good enough job of protecting it. When you're -2 on the road, you don't win a lot of those games.
Did they do anything special to neutralize your pass rush?
Now they got rid of the ball quick, and they were running the ball effectively, and so it minimized some of those one-dimensional passing circumstances.
So if those
he ain't lying.
plays are intercepted, it's a different.
He's not lying. We're going to keep it moving with football. But one of the things that he said was he found it funny that you would trade to in the same division to a division rival. You would trade a starting quarterback who you believed in to start your season to a division rival who didn't have a quarterback, who was basically dead in the water. Because if you guys hadn't paid any attention to that division, the Steelers are running away with that division because there's nobody else that was competing. Cincinnati wasn't competing. Cleveland for damn sure wasn't competing. And Cincinnati wasn't competing without Joe Burrow for sure. Browning was garbage. So and I mean the Ravens. Look what happened. The Ravens are 1-5. They're not competing. The Steelers had the best chance to take this division, and now we got some parity in this division again. And unfortunately, at the beginning of the season, so it's only 5-6 games in, it's almost anybody's division. This could be one of those divisions where the winner is going 10-7, or even in some cases maybe even 9-8. All you got to do is win a division to go to the playoffs. All you got to do is win your division, and if you can win your division in a bad division, you'll go to the playoffs, even if your record ain't that good. So, so with that being said, there are some pundits who are recanting their statements and going back on what they've been saying about Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns because of the debacle that we've been seeing. So this is one of the main ones. Who's one of the main detractors. This is Tony Grossi. He always talks so much smack about Shedeur Sanders. Let's see what he has to say today.
Game altogether, and we're calling for Shedeur Sanders.
Tony Grossi just did the unthinkable. The man who spent months mocking Shedeur Sanders on live TV, who called him overhyped, fragile, and not NFL material, has now flipped the script completely. Not only is Grossi suddenly praising Shedeur, he's now saying Sanders is better than Dylan Gabriel and should be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Let that sink in. This is the same guy who once laughed at Shedeur's sore arm, the same guy who called him a joke after his first preseason snap.
So he was counterproductive because he's got a sore arm.
Okay, so you're using that as a negative against the kid?
I don't understand.
Jesus God, would you give him a chance?
Well,
My God,
here's the
because his
thing.
arm's sore?
Yeah.
What, that's a negative, that the kid's got a sore arm?
Yes.
Because he's working too hard?
So, what changed? How did the loudest critic of Shedeur Sanders turn into a believer overnight? And more importantly, what does this say about the disaster unfolding in Cleveland? Because once you hear what really pushed Grossi over the edge, you'll realize this isn't just a media flip. It's a warning shot for everyone in the Browns organization.
I thought he was much better against Minnesota than he was against Pittsburgh. He was not good.
Yeah, I thought he was worse. Yeah, I agree.
Yep, definitely took a step back.
He easily could have had 4 interceptions yesterday.
Oh, gosh.
They dropped a lot. Everybody dropped his passes yesterday.
The Steelers can't catch interceptions. They have 0 on the season.
Dylan Gabriel didn't just play a bad game. He imploded on a national stage. Against the Steelers, he looked like a quarterback completely out of his depth. Missed reads, poor timing, no rhythm. And the most damning part, he could have thrown 4 interceptions easily. Pittsburgh defenders were practically gift wrap passes, and they still couldn't catch them. But that wasn't the silver lining Gabriel needed. It was a red flag the size of First Energy Stadium. Fans weren't just booing, they were begging for Shedeur Sanders, a guy who wasn't even active for the game. Let that sink in. The Browns starting QB was so disappointing that people started chanting the name of a backup who never took the field.
This is who Kevin wanted, though. That's the thing. Like, this is Kevin's guy. It just, I get so frustrated watching it because, you know, a lot of times we feel like, oh, they're trying to stick a, square peg into a round hole and all this stuff. Not now.
And it wasn't just the fans. Analysts, insiders, even ex-players started asking the same question. Why is Dillon Gabriel still starting? The trust was gone. The patience had run out. And the pressure on Kevin Stefanski about to reach a breaking point. But the moment that truly flipped everything, it wasn't on the field. It came next when Tony Grossi stepped behind a mic and said something no one expected. For months, Tony Grossi was Shedeur Sanders' loudest critic. He dismissed him as a social media distraction, but mocked his injuries, scoffed at the idea that he could even survive in the NFL, let alone start. Grossi didn't just criticize. He targeted Shedeur. Every segment, every tweet, every panel. He made it clear Shedeur wasn't ready, wasn't tough enough, and didn't belong. And then just hours after the Steelers game, Grossi sat down in front of a mic and shocked everyone. I think Shedeur is better than Dillon Gabriel. I think he should be the Browns' starting quarterback. Silent. People thought it was sarcasm. But no, he meant it. This wasn't a backhanded jab. It wasn't some passive-aggressive shot. It was a full-blown confession. A public admission that everything he'd said before might have been wrong. And this wasn't just some casual sports take. This was Tony Grossi, a man whose opinion carries serious weight in Cleveland's media circles. When he changes sides, people pay attention. But why the sudden shift? Was it really just about Dillon Gabriel's poor performance? Or had this been building behind the scenes?
That's
Myles Garrett.
Yeah, it's frustrating. To lose the same way every time, it's frustrating as hell.
To understand that, we need to rewind. Back to when Grossi humiliated Shedeur Sanders on live TV, long before Tony Grossi flipped the narrative. He was building it, brick by brick, with every insult he tossed at Shedeur Sanders. It wasn't just analysis, it was personal. When Shedeur mentioned soreness in his throwing arm, Grossi didn't show concern. He didn't offer insight, he laughed. On live television, Grossi took a jab at Sanders, questioning how a quarterback with fewer reps than the starters could possibly be sore. His tone, mocking. His intent, clear. He used that moment of vulnerability to paint Shedeur as weak, as someone who wasn't cut out for the grind. Someone who in Grossi's eyes already didn't belong. And it wasn't a one-off. Every week he found a new angle. Sore arm, social media, family hype. He turned Shedeur Sanders into a punchline. Fans picked up on it. So did Shedeur. And while the media laughed, Sanders kept working quietly, methodically, and with something to prove. But Grossi didn't see that. He didn't want to. Because for Tony, Shedeur wasn't just a player. He was a target. And that grudge, it boiled over when the spotlight hit a preseason game. And Shedeur Sanders decided he was done being silent. It was supposed to be just another preseason game. Shedeur Sanders had put in a solid performance against the Panthers. Nothing.
Yeah, so I mean that's pretty much what's going on there, and it's only gonna get worse. I mean, we can keep covering it, but until something new pops up, we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on.
I won't say a waste of time, I don't know what that was, I wish all those plays connected,
This is Jerry Jeudy, back in Cleveland.
Because these are young players that you're so invested in their development, so I'll let the week play out and make a decision.
Jerry Jeudy just lit the fuse, and Cleveland might not be ready for the explosion. Word is, Coach Kevin Stefanski's been playing 4D chess while fans are still begging to let Shedeur Sanders get in the game. And now, Judy's calling him out loud and clear, turning the locker room into straight-up Hard Knocks, Chaos Edition. What he said is so wild, even the Browns mascot wants no part of it. Buckle up, Cleveland, this is about to get messy.
He was asked about the Browns' 4-quarterback plan from camp and the reps given to Flacco and Pickett, who are no longer here, and whether that was a waste of time. I would dare say he dropped the answer on. It wasn't a waste of time.
I don't know what that was.
I don't know what it was.
That's just an honest answer in the moment.
Yep.
Like I'm trying to. Those are the moments where athletes they get to be livid at the situation, and they get to be mad that they have to be the meat shield and the ones that stand in and try to justify a decision by a front office and coaching staff that they don't even agree with.
The Cleveland Browns just went from a football team to a full-blown reality show, and Jerry.
Yeah, I mean, their team is so bad right now, and they don't really have any reason not to put this man in. The players are upset. Myles Garrett's upset. Jerry Jeudy's upset. And like I said before, we could cover this all day long because they're never going to do what we want them to do. And when the minute that they do it, they're going to try to make them look bad. It's the way that it seems. It's time to move on, guys. So in the next portion of our show, we're going to talk about You're Not Welcome. So what happens when you go somewhere and you're not supposed to be there, and you insist on being there? So this is going to be a live reaction to this. I haven't watched the whole thing yet. I saw the first 2 minutes of it, and we're gonna go ahead and check it out. You guys ready? I'm ready. Make sure you guys hit this video and then share it so that people can come on and watch us too. I think it's a good idea to share it to your friends, like it. We're trying to do something a little bit different today. Not a lot of different, just a little bit different. Let's get Shedeur up out of there. Shedeur, you done for the day, man. Go ahead, enjoy your week.
North Sentinel Island is often considered the most dangerous place in the world. It's home to one of the most deadly uncontacted tribes on Earth, who have unalived several outsiders who dared to step foot on their island, burying them in shallow graves right.
You know, what I can't seem to understand, I can't understand why people keep going to places like North Sentinel Island and letting these people eat them. You're not going to change them. See, I have a thing about not being welcome somewhere. You know, if I'm going outside and I'm going to, for example, I'm not just going to pop up at somebody's house. I'm not going to pop up at somebody's house. I'm not going to pop up at somebody's job. I'm not going to do any of those things. You need to welcome me. I need to be welcome. I have a specific set of rules that I live my life by. And the minute that I don't feel welcome somewhere is the minute that I'm out of there. I don't want to be anywhere that I'm not welcome. I don't want to be anywhere that someone doesn't want me to be. And I mean, except for the top. I'm going to always do my best to be at the top. Even if I got to get knocked down and climb up, I'm going to do my best to keep on climbing. That's just how it is. But other than that, like someone's personal residence, you know, I'm a firm believer in, you know, minding my own business and making sure that I'm at peace in my own space. That's so sacred to me. So this type of stuff for me doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I don't understand why you want to go to somebody's island
On the beach for the world to see. Going there is almost certainly a death wish, but in the modern age, creators are willing to risk it all for clout, like Mikhailo Viktorovich Polyakov, who just recently attempted a trip to the deadly island. And although he somehow managed to come back unscathed, it's possible that he might have triggered a mini genocide on the island itself. Hi, I'm the Internet Anarchist. I make weekly YouTube documentaries, and today we'll be looking into the latest idiot who has attempted to visit North Sentinel Island for clout, the despicable acts he committed for content while he was there, and how he might—
Let me tell you, there are so many things that people will do just for the purpose of having content, and you know, disturbing an ecosystem full of people and plants and animals, fauna and flora to make YouTube videos is kind of selfish. How desperate you got to be to make videos at the expense of these people who don't know what technology is. And before people say, oh, they got to know. No, they don't. It's an isolated island away from the rest of the world, and it's remained isolated. And every time someone tries to go there, for the most part, they don't come back. I don't know how many times someone's going to go there when these people keep telling you they don't want you there. They don't want you there. I don't need somebody to tell me too many times they don't want me in front of them. If I feel the mood is off, I'm out. And don't let them be in my spot or in my car or anywhere. They're getting out of it. There's no way I'm going to allow that to happen. No way. That's not in the
might even spend the next 5 years of his life in prison because of those acts. But you know what won't land you in prison? Subscribing to the channel. So hit that subscribe button and let's get on with the video. To fully understand just how dumb and insensitive this entire trip was, it's worth knowing who this man is and why he was so desperate to reach this uncontacted island. Mikhailo Viktorovich Polyakov is a 24-year-old YouTuber from North Goldwater, Arizona. He runs a YouTube channel named Neo-Orientalist, which he created fairly recently in September of 2024, almost a year later, and it's still fairly unknown, with only 4.6k subs, and only one major piece of content, a 6-part vlog series documenting the 3 weeks Mikhailo spent in one of the most dangerous places in the world, Taliban-controlled Afghanistan, along with several shorts highlighting the various moments from the same trip. Now, to his credit, he did put effort into properly exploring Afghanistan's culture from an objective lens, regardless of his personal opinions on it, even documenting important historical locations across the country and day-to-day life of the locals. It seemed like he was genuinely interested in showing his viewers a part of the world that doesn't get much coverage, even if it meant putting his life in danger. Fortunately for him, viewers noticed, with one thankful viewer writing, "I'm glad these videos actually show the real Afghanistan, unlike other videos where in 40 minutes, half is showing them walking to a hotel and inside the hotel, and the other half is eating in a restaurant and buying clothing." However, despite all of this, there were some questionable moments within the content he posted, especially his shorts, where his thrill-seeking side would take over. Take, for example, him posing with one of the Afghan militia's machine guns, shooting with the militia, and recording a road rage incident that turned violent. But regardless, his vlog still did moderately well, generating—
So basically what you're telling me is this guy's a dummy. You know, this ain't, those are not edited. That's who this guy is. You know, let me blow it up for you so you can see that's who this guy is. You know, he makes shock videos for the internet, and I'm not really down with that. I'm gonna tell you straight up, I'm not really down with making shock videos just for the internet. Like, there's got to be some basis of what you're doing and why you're doing it. You know what I mean? But this is definitely not the right way to go about doing things. I'm going to criticize on that. Yes, I am.
around 20 to 30,000 views per video, especially considering that they were the first videos he ever posted. He had a real opportunity to keep putting out videos like this, exploring different cultures, and generating an audience that enjoyed his slightly more risky adventures from time to time. However, Mikhailo didn't want to build an audience over time, he wanted to go viral overnight. So he decided to take the biggest risk he could think of to reach this goal, and ended up choosing North Sentinel Island as his next destination, blatantly
Well, that's mistake number one. Listen, guys, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to mean this. In just about everything in life, slow motion is better than no motion. There's a very big difference between taking your time and wasting your time. There's a huge difference, but a thin line between the two. So a huge difference, but a thin line between the two. Do not skirt on the not building your infrastructure to get the result, because the result is not going to be able to stand on its own ground. That's the same thing as having what they call a foundation. You build your foundation so that your house, your building, your garage, or whatever you're building on top of this foundation is not gonna slide away when the first rain comes. Imagine having a beautiful mansion but a very weak foundation. You won't have a very beautiful mansion for that long if you don't build a foundation. Making money, no, build your audience organically so that you're not performing stunts to be able to bring them in. I understand the whole sentiment behind I want to get big as fast as possible, but you probably shouldn't be risking your life in this way to do so, especially when it comes to disturbing ecosystems full of people, plants, and animals.
Regarding the law, the obvious threat to his own life, and the threat to the people on that island, all in search of internet clout. For those who don't know, North Sentinel Island is approximately the size of India. As a result, it's completely cut off from civilization. In fact, the only civilization that's even remotely close to it is Port Blair, the capital of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands in the Bay of Bengal. However, despite its isolation, there is a group of people that have been surviving on the island for centuries, without ever stepping foot on the mainland, a tribe known as the Sentinelese, rumored to be the direct descendants of the first humans to a primitive lifestyle, hunting for animals and fish with spears, bow and arrows, while wearing little to no clothing, leading many people to believe that they might be humanity's last remaining link to the Stone Age. However, their unique and detached existence has also made them a prime target over the years, from explorers, adventurers, and even governments trying to bring them back to civilization. The earliest incident of outsiders making contact with the Sentinelese occurred sometime in the 1880s, when the British Navy led a survey mission to North Sentinel Island that quickly turned ugly. In their attempt to civilize the Sentinelese, the Navy ended up kidnapping 6 members of the tribe, an elderly couple and their 4 children, and took them to Port Blair, where tragedy awaited them. You see, because the Sentinelese have been living isolated from the rest of the world for thousands of years, they haven't developed immunity to any of our diseases. So when these 6 members of the tribe were eventually brought to the mainland, the elderly couple ended up falling sick and dying almost immediately. Fortunately, the children managed to survive, and were quickly sent back to the island along with several gifts as a gesture of peace. However, the damage was already done. The Sentinelese have consistently responded with arrows and aggression to anyone that has tried to enter their territory since that incident, no matter their intention. Like in 2000.
So let me tell you, that is not computer generated. That is real footage of what happens when you show up there. They make sure to send a welcoming party out, and that welcoming party is letting you know immediately, we're going to kill you.
2004, when a Sentinelese man on the beach tried to shoot an Indian Coast Guard helicopter with a bow and arrow, even though it only came to check on the tribe's welfare after a tsunami had ravaged the surrounding area. Or in 2006, when a couple of fishermen accidentally drifted into the waters near North Sentinel Island while poaching a fish, and the Sentinelese ended up unaliving them and burying their bodies on the beach. There has only ever been one instance when the Sentinelese people didn't react aggressively to a group of visitors landing on their shores. This was on January 4th, 1991, when Trilokanath Pandit, the director of the Anthropological Survey of India at the time, decided to visit.
Soft Rain asks a question, and she says, why even try to infiltrate a civilization like that? Let them people live in peace. That's what I'm saying. Let them live in peace. Like, you are literally going to somebody's home and causing problems. Literally.
the island with his team. He had already been studying the island and its natives for several years, so when his boat started approaching, he knew exactly how to signal the tribesmen that he and his team were friendly.
To overcome limited communication and uncertain vocabulary. Coconuts do not grow on these islands, but they are valued by the sentinali.
In the end, they managed to befriend the tribesmen by copying their mannerisms and using their unique language to communicate with them. However, this event didn't end up having any lasting impact on the relationship with the sentinelese. So, in 2012, an amendment was made to the Andaman and Nicobar Island Protections of the Aboriginal Tribes Regulation of 1956, making it illegal to get within 3 miles of North Sentinel Island. But despite those restrictions being in place, there have still been some idiots who have tried visiting the island, like John Allen Chow, a 26-year-old American Christian missionary who believed North Sentinel Island was Satan's last stronghold on Earth.
Let me tell you right now, if you are considering yourself to be any kind of evangelist, going to someone's home and causing these types of problems is not what you want to do, okay? It's not what you want to do at all. You consider their home to be the last stronghold of Satan, and this is how you want to take it? Okay, but I'm going to tell you right now, it is probably not going to go very well for you when you get there. So when you want to go and spread your religion, whatever religion it may be, to a bunch of people who have been isolated from the rest of the world for thousands of years, and you try to bring them some deity that they probably don't care about because they never heard of it, this is probably what's going to happen to you. And I don't think that this is going to end well, guys. I haven't seen the rest of it, but we're going to watch it together.
Earth, so he made it his mission to bring people of North Sentinel Island towards Christianity, but as you might imagine, all of his attempts ended in complete disaster. He was forced to retreat twice and even had to swim a mile to safety after his second failed attempt. Despite all this, he tried to fulfill his mission a third time on November 16, 2018, and ended up losing his life. In the days following his death, several news outlets picked up on his story, broadcasting the risks of trying to contact an uncontactable tribe and the danger it posed to both the people trying to visit the island and the local tribesmen. But
yeah, I remember this story when it came out, and I remember what happened to that guy. Soft Rain said, "Play stupid games, win stupid prizes." This is exactly what he won. The prize that he won was the end of his own life. You know, he was unalived by those people. And let me tell you, I remember when the story came out, and I remember what they were talking about, is how this guy was noble, and all of that. And I don't think that that was very noble of him. I think it was very stupid. It's very stupid to go on these people's island and bother them when they hadn't been bothering anyone else.
Of course, these warnings would land on deaf ears in Mikhailo's case, who, despite all the danger, chose North Sentinel Island as the next destination for his thrill-seeking vlogs, and eventually ended up paying the price for his decision. It all started in October 2024, when Mikhailo decided to take a trip from the United States to Port Blair, just like John Allen had. He got his hands on an inflatable kayak soon after landing on the island, and planned to use it to make a solo journey to the island. However, before his kayak could even hit the water, the staff of the hotel in which he was staying intervened, threatening to call the police if he left for the island, which probably ended up saving Mikhailo's life, since not only would the kayak have easily deflated if the sentinelese decided to start showering it with arrows, the journey itself would have been extremely difficult, especially if the waves were even slightly rougher than normal. Fortunately, he listened to the staff at that moment and decided to fly back to the States almost immediately, but his obsession with going viral soon buried any fears he might have had about what awaited him on the island. So he decided to try a second time in January 2025, and made the trip from the US to Port Blair once again. However, this time he had a slightly different plan. Instead of an inflatable kayak, he brought an inflatable motorboat with him. The only problem was, this motorboat was missing a key component, the motor. So Mikhailo started reaching out to local mechanics and engineers in Port Blair, asking them to help attach a motor to his boat, and he found someone who could do it almost immediately. However, Mikhailo wasn't one to sit around and wait, so he decided to visit yet another indigenous tribe while the motor was being constructed. He hitched a ride to the Baratang Islands, located approximately 90 miles north of Port Blair, and successfully made contact with the native Jarara tribe. But here's the kicker. He ended up recording his interactions with the tribe, which, as it turns out, is also illegal under Indian law. He eventually returned back to Port Blair on March 26th.
Now, for those of you that are just joining, when they say Indian law, they mean India, not Native Americans. So if they say Indian law, it's India, it's not Native Americans. This island is off the coast of India, and it has it hasn't been involved with civilization. Like they said, they believe that it was some of the first people to leave Africa, and I mean, you've seen what they look like. I don't have to go into detail about that.
It's 2025, and by this time, the motor for his boat was ready and attached. After spending a few days studying routes and monitoring tides, Mikhailo finally left for North Sentinel Island at approximately 1 AM on March 29. And surprisingly, the journey itself went smoothly. Not only did he have to contend with less Coast Guard patrols, since he'd left from the nearby Kumadera beach, and not the more heavily patrolled beach in Port Blair, the waters were also incredibly calm throughout the trip. In fact, he managed to arrive in North Sentinel Island's vicinity around 10 AM, which is way earlier than he'd imagined. However, upon his arrival, he would be greeted with absolute silence, since there were absolutely no sentinelese on the beach awaiting his arrival like he'd imagined, which in reality was incredibly lucky, because if they were present, it's more than likely they'd have started firing arrows at him by this point. Still, as he continued inching closer, he started getting more frustrated, resulting in him doing the most brain-dead thing ever, and using a whistle to alert the sentinelese to his presence. He whistled for over an hour, but luckily received no response from the sentinelese, all while slowly approaching the beach. And when he finally arrived, he found the beach and the nearby forest just as deserted as it looked from his boat. So he spent the next hour recording the deserted beach and collecting sand samples to take back with him before engaging in his most despicable act yet, leaving a half-empty can of Diet Coke and a coconut on the beach as an offering to the tribe, knowing full well that the drink he'd already drank from probably contains pathogens that could possibly wipe out the entire tribe if even one member decided to drink it. As a commenter rightly states, this guy is a dummy. Putting an entire civilization/heritage at risk for a couple of years, your values are truly mind-boggling. After leaving the can of Coke, he made the only sane decision of this entire trip and left the island on the same boat he arrived on, happy that he managed to escape without getting offed. However, little did he know, the real consequences were waiting for him back at Port Blair. You see, while he was returning—
Again, if you go do something stupid like this, you're going into somebody's home. In this case, you're going against isolated people who do not have the pathogens that have been traveling around from country to country for the last few. He could have gave them all COVID, whatever that word is, Kofifi. He could have gave them all Kofifi and they could have all died.
Returning to Kumadera Beach at around 7 PM that same day, two fishermen on the coast noticed his boat. They quickly alerted the local authorities about where they suspected Mikhailo was coming from, resulting in police finding and arresting him a couple of days later on March 31st. They ended up confiscating his GoPro with all of the footage on the island and launched a full criminal investigation into Mikhailo's actions. In other words, Mikhailo could face up to 5 or even 8 years in prison for his crimes if convicted. Now, it's important to note that he hasn't been charged yet, but given the recent trend of foreign governments not letting American nuisance creators get away with whatever they want, there's a good chance he won't be coming home anytime soon. But even if he somehow manages to escape the charges, there's one thing for sure: Mikhailo's already blown any shot he had at becoming a YouTuber, ending his career before it could even start, and he has no one to blame for his own failure but himself. He had the opportunity to stop chasing this incredibly dumb adventure in October 2024 when he got caught the first time. However, his need for clout didn't let him abandon the idea, and now he could be facing serious prison time for his actions, and that too in a foreign country, all because he was too stubborn to just accept the idiocy of his plan. Kind of.
Yeah, I mean, you got to really understand that. You know, when you go to somebody else's place, you're not welcome. They didn't invite you. Stop just showing up and trying to do stuff. They don't want stuff from you, man. Just leave them alone. Leave those people alone. They've been isolated for this long. Let them stay isolated. We don't need to learn anything from them. We don't need to examine them. Nothing. Just let them live out their lives in peace. That's the end of it. Let them live out their lives in peace. Well, they're not developed. Well, I mean, there's not a lot of resources that are just on one island. You know what I'm saying? They're not searching for it either. They're happy living their lives where they are. Maybe they have happier lives than most of us do. All the stuff that we have, all the technology and furniture and all this stuff. We go to work in and day out, and they look like they probably have a lot better lives. Maybe they don't live as long, but maybe the quality of their life is a lot better. But it's better than getting spit roasted on some beach in near India, in my opinion. So, continuing with today's episode of You're Not Wanted, we're going to dive into who is called the godfather of the manosphere, and that's Kevin Samuels. And he predicted before his death, his untimely death, he predicted that the wave of women who don't want to be married to their husbands anymore, for whatever reasons, was going to happen. He predicted it, and I think it's coming true now. I've seen a record number of divorces that are being initiated solely because of an unhappy wife, and not necessarily because of anything that the husband did differently, when asked the questions about what he's done, or what's the reason that they got a divorce, most of the time they can't give an answer other than I'm not happy. Is this a product of the husband not paying attention to her enough? Is it the product of him not giving her what she needs in this life? I don't know. I'm not one of them. I'm no one's wife. And, the type of lifestyle that I live is a little bit different than what most people would call conventional, but it works for me, right? Probably wouldn't work for you very well, so don't follow it. But we're going to dive into it anyway, and we're going to see that Kevin Samuels called the Ayesha Curry problem out way before it presented itself.
You guys already know I love to resurface old Kevin Samuels content that demonstrated how correct that he was, how much of a genius that brother was. And this video is no different. Title of this video that Kevin uploaded, and this was May 9th, 2019, over 6 years ago, titled it Damage Control. Ayesha Curry needs more than attention. Kevin Samuels was beyond right about Ayesha Curry back then, and even with her current actions, continues to demonstrate how right that he was. Let's let the brother cook. Without further ado.
Condolences to the Currys. Never marry a woman who thinks she's better than you.
Fashion meets fragrance. Look at Kev.
All right, guys, I'm just going to get right
Hashtag progress over perfection, right?
into this. This one hits home for me because I've seen it so often. I've counseled with guys through divorce care, through Christian ministries, through breakups, through so many things. And I've seen so many guys that have actually married a woman they absolutely adore. But the woman thinks she's better than you. And ultimately, she's jealous of you.
Is that the case, guys? So I mean, in this simple scenario with the Currys and the Smiths and the countless others that we know that aren't celebrities, would you think that that's the case, that she married a guy who she thought she was better than? Do you think that is what the issue was? She married a guy that she thought she was better than, and that's why they're having these problems? I don't know. Does anyone marry somebody that they think they're better than? If you think you're better than them, why are you marrying them? What could they possibly be providing to you that would make you want to marry someone who you think you're better than? I don't know. But we're going to hear about this. This was 6 years ago, guys.
Avoid women who think they are better than you because you can never make them happy. And here's the thing. As your success continues to rise, their anger, their resentment, their animosity towards you will continue to rise. So outwardly, people look at you and say, she's so lucky to have this man. He's a multimillionaire, a good family man, all these other things. And all she's sitting there and saying, it should be me. I'm better than him. Especially, this really runs deep, especially in women who are failed actresses and failed models. When you meet a woman who is a struggling local actress, struggling local model, attractive, but she just doesn't have that it factor. You can kick it with her, you can date her, you can hang out with her, but do not make any kind of commitment to her. And for God's sake, don't marry her or have any children. Because one, she is always going to have in her mind any kind of weight I put on, anything that happens is going to potentially hurt this non-existent career she's dreaming about, this fame that she wants, this thing that she cannot have. And especially if you're like Seth Curry and you actually attained it. He married his high school sweetheart. He was a teenage boy and she was a teenage girl. That 15-year-old boy was ecstatic to have that gorgeous girl because she actually grew into her womanness before he grew into his manness. He has finally grown into his man's body, into his man's mind, and become the man a lot of people saw in him. She's still looking at him as the same little boy who was blowing her kisses and kissing her ass as a teenager. And that's what you saw come out. That's what it is. It wasn't that she wants more attention. It wasn't that she wants more guys on her DM. She married a guy that she thinks she's better than. And honestly, she's jealous of him. She's jealous because I'm sitting at home, pumped out 3 kids, and he's on TV every day. He's getting all the fame. He's getting all the red carpet.
Like I said, this was 6 years ago. I think it's more kids than that now. But I mean, it's hard to argue with his position here. It's hard to argue with that. I personally, I can take this and say personally, there are, people who I grew up with, especially women, who thought the same thing about me. And as I grew, developed, and changed into the man that I am today, they've tried to spin the block. They tried to spin the block on me. There was people who thought they were better than me and I could do better than him, and they didn't. They didn't do better than me. Their career aspirations didn't go where they thought they were going to go. The life they wanted to have, they didn't have it. And I'm not saying that anything is wrong with them. I'm just saying that the way that they judged was the way that things ended. And it's not up to me to let them spin the block and get another shot after all of that. I mean, it takes a lot of fortitude as a young man to get rejected by people who you're qualified to be around, be friends with, talk to, date, marry. I mean, most of us wanted to get married at a young age. Most of us wanted to start our adult lives when our adult lives started. That's the generational difference that I remember. I remember that when we were 16, 17, 18, we were getting ready to start our lives. We were hoping to be married by 20, 21, 22 with kids in our homes, in our careers, finishing college, or whatever else that we were doing. We hope to be done with those things. That was the generational, next step, as some people would say, that we were taking. But I think what Kevin Samuels is describing has a lot of legitimacy to it. I think it does. And I think we're going to, listen to, I think we'll go back and play that part again.
He has finally grown into his man's body, into his man's mind, and become the man a lot of people saw in him. She's still looking at him as the same little boy who was blowing her kisses and kissing her ass as a teenager. And that's what you saw come out. That's what it is. It wasn't that she wants more attention. It wasn't that she wants more guys on her DM. She married a guy that she thinks she's better than. And honestly, she's jealous of him. She's jealous because I'm sitting at home, pumped out 3 kids, and he's on TV every day. He's getting all the fame. He's getting all the red carpet treatment. He's getting all this. And only time she gets attention is attention he deflects to her. We wouldn't know about Ayesha Curry if it wasn't for Steph. He tries to put her in the spotlight. He tries to put her in front and center. And guess what? If she had what it takes, she'd already be there. And that's what's not being told. If she had anything that should make her a star or put her on that level, she'd be there. Will Smith married Jada Pinkett. Jada Pinkett had a modicum of success, but she was never nowhere close to being what Will was. Look at what Will tried to do with his son. He kept trying to push his son out there, but his son isn't Will. Well, guess what? Ayesha ain't Steph. Let me tell you what I fear is going to happen. I fear this is what's going to happen. She's going to end up divorcing him.
6 years later, and it's terrifying how accurate that he was. 6 years later, and she's still acting up. Quick emergency meeting. I was recently searching for.
Yeah, 6 years later, and I mean, we're gonna keep going with it. But 6 years later, and that was a prediction by Kevin Samuels. Some people might call him the Godfather. May he rest in peace. 6 years later, and she's still dealing with this, and it's getting worse. I feel like she actually kind of resents her husband, and he just keeps loving on her. So, I mean, if you got somebody that keeps loving on you, and this is not directed towards the men, we don't tend to have that issue because I think with just about all of us, we don't get love for no reason. I don't think that we have unconditional love from anybody except for our children and our dogs. But even then, with the children, it depends on how the house is, man, the household is. I feel like overall men are valued for what we create and what we provide, and I'm not meaning just money. I'm talking about what we create and what we provide. That's what we're valued on. We're it's very meticulous, the list that we have to succumb to in order to attract, and I mean generally, not everybody is attractive. Not everybody's a good looking guy. Not everybody has the gift of gab, the smoothness, the savvy. Not everybody has those things. Not everybody can, radiate when they come into a room. Not everybody has an aura that doesn't need to be farmed in order to come in there. Not everybody can say, well, I'm just me wherever I go, and people like me, or they don't like me. But everybody has made their decision. Either they like me or they don't. And I say that about myself personally. Either you like me or you don't. And obviously you guys do. Well, the majority of you. There's some people who pop in here that don't. And I appreciate you too, because you're helping my numbers. You're helping my numbers a lot. That I don't do this for the numbers, but it definitely puts a smile on my face when the numbers pop up. So let's just move forward to continue with our video.
Due to the girl boss narratives that her, as well as many modern day women, have latched onto. And because of that, they will see you as competition as opposed to a companion.
It's going to get to a point where it is intolerable. She's already made this faux pas. She's already put it out there. It's out in the ether, and she's getting drugged by men. And people are actually looking at her like, what the hell's wrong with you? So she's going to have to pipe down. She's not going to be able to say much about anything, but it is going to tear her apart, tear him apart, because at the end of the day, She thinks she's up here and she thinks he's down here.
It's the craziest thing about all of this was 6 years ago. And on our previous episode of our show, we talked about this. We talked about the fact that enough is never enough, is it? We're talking about a guy over 6 feet tall, light skinned, adored by many, looked up to, respected, one of the greatest of all time, plenty of money, shoe contracts, deals, endorsements, clothing, nice house in the Bay Area, in the California, and it still isn't enough. Bunch of beautiful kids. What else can you do? What else can you do as a man? I mean, if there's any ladies watching, I want to know, what else could you possibly do? Is there? I mean, they have a bunch of kids, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they have a good, carnal life. I hope to never find out about their carnal life, but something has to be there, right? Why did she go with him if she wasn't satisfied in where she was going to end up? Why did she go with him if the relationship wasn't going to be a forever relationship, if she wanted that much? And I think that Kevin Samuels is right. Maybe it's not about the attention that she's getting from other people. Maybe it's not about the attention at all. I don't know. The jury is adjourned, but we're still listening.
It is not going to change. She does not view Steph Curry as the NBA All-Star world champion basketball player. She views Steph Curry as this guy that her mom and dad, her parents told her, you need to marry and secure the bag. She
still views him as the guy who was going to be the high school basketball coach as she ran up the bag in either corporate or in the entertainment world. And now that it is the opposite, it eats at her.
Want to be there. She would have rather been a struggling actress in Hollywood, trying to get big parts in commercials, trying to get pickups in TV, trying to be an extra here or trying to get a print commercial or something while ended up dating whoever. Honestly, she'd have been happier that way. I know too many women like this. Trust me, I've seen this in my life. There are women like her who are above average looking. Let's be honest, she's not that fine. I mean, she's attractive, but she ain't model fine. She's pretty, but she ain't all that. She can't handle it. She's not built for it, but she thinks she is. She can't even handle the overflow traffic she gets from her husband. What the hell makes her think she could handle it in the spotlight? But the problem is she's too close to the sun. She's close enough to where she actually thinks she could do just fine. And the bad thing is she's seen too many women kind of do this kind of thing. Look what Kamora Lee Simmons did. She actually has had a reasonably successful career, but she was a model, a supermodel in somebody's eyes, but a model nonetheless.
Yeah.
What has Ayesha Curry done other than being married to Steph Curry? But that's not going to change anything. This is going to nag at her, nag at them until she ends up. And now there's another possible alternative. Steph could try to work behind the scenes with some Hollywood producer, friend, family, and try to work her way and try to get her in Hollywood. But you know what? It'll even be worse because honestly, when she gets up on the screen and it shows that she doesn't have the chops, shows that she doesn't have that it factor, then you have to deal with the fallout of that.
Yeah.
When you marry a woman who thinks she's better than you, when you're with somebody who is ultimately going to be jealous of you, who can't play their role, does not like the spotlight being on you, you're signing up for a life of misery.
Yeah, here's the thing. I've always said that when I date someone, that when I'm with someone, if I'm kicking it with them even, some people have described it as me being their hero, and I like that. I like someone who thinks that I can do no wrong. Even if they know that I'm human, even if they know that I make mistakes, I like someone who knows that my intentions were pure, that, my ability, my tenacity to get things done is always going to overshadow any negatives or any doubts that you might have about me. I like that about people. And I like that when people know that about me. I like that when people treat me like it. So I shouldn't be up here, in my opinion, trying to prove anything to you. Either you like me or you don't. Either you trust me or you don't. And I shouldn't waste a whole lot of my man time that I could be spent building infrastructure to prove it to you. So either you feel safe or you don't. Either you want to submit or you don't. Either you think that I am awesome and you love the crap out of me and you want to wash my drawers and all of that good stuff, or you don't. And if you don't, that's fine. You're not for me. If you don't, that's fine. Go find someone that will do that for you. But let me explain, if you're in my life, you're going to say things like, I've seen him do some impossible stuff. I look up to him. That's somebody that can teach me about life. That's my hero. Those are things that people say when they appreciate you. Those are things that people say when they don't think that they're better than you. And I'm not saying that you as a man need to feel like you're better than her, because that's not necessarily something that we consider. But when they treat you like, you've been sent to them, you get a completely different reaction. A completely different reaction. Trying to prove yourself to someone, it doesn't usually work out, now does it?
There's going to be this passive aggressive, low level contempt for you, because at the end of the day, you're really not what she wanted. You're not what she wanted to do. She wanted something completely else, and she's living a life that somebody else planned for her. And even though it's probably the best thing for her, she thinks she can do better. Till next time, talk at you.
And I always say this. I always say this. If I'm going to be put in this situation where all of my stuff is going to be exposed, then I need to be the type of person where the armor that I have around is even stronger, even greater. Okay, I'm exposed, but I'm on a high tower. Not everybody's going to be able to climb to the tower. That's where I need to be at. And I've always said that if she doesn't like you, you're not going to be able to make her like you. That's just my advice to guys. If she doesn't like you, bro, she doesn't like you. There's nothing you can do to win her affection. That's not saying that she won't marry you. That's especially if she's someone that is looking for, a vehicle to get to where she wants to go to. That's not saying that she won't marry you, but she doesn't really respect you. She doesn't really honor you. She's not doing things for you. She's not heeding your direction. She's not taking your example. I mean, those are things you really have to start to look for. And I think that, maybe if she's too pretty and it's gone to her head, maybe you should just leave her alone. There's a lot of people that are too pretty out there, too pretty for their own good. At least they think so. I might not think so. Maybe not on the scale that I have. Maybe not on the scale that somebody else has. It might not attract me, but they think it. And because they think it, the way they live their life, like he said, she might not even be a good actress, but she's held on to this dream for so many years that she's supposed to be an actress in Hollywood and $20 million getting paid for salary for movies and box office hits and, have launching her own brands. That's what she believes. You're not going to be able to shake her of that belief. Have the conversation at the beginning. Don't let her settle for you. If she feels like she's settling for you, she is never going to respect you. She's never going to treat you right. If she feels like she's settling with you. So women might ask me the question and say, well, doesn't it work the same way for the guys? No, it doesn't. To be honest, most of us are just happy for some attention from some of y'all because most of us don't get it. Most of us do not get attention from you. So the construction worker out there that makes 75 to 80, maybe give him a shot. Maybe look at him a little bit. Especially if you're not making that. Especially if you don't have that. I just haven't made it yet. Well, when are you going to make it? 30, 35, 40, 45? It's possible and very improbable. Look up the numbers if you don't believe me. The numbers will not lie in this case. I think we've heard it all from them. Thanks, Mediocre Tutorials and Reviews, for your video of Kevin Samuels. And we're going to keep it moving on to our next segment of the day. We've already been live for an hour. We're going to tap in with the classic codes. Tap in with the classic codes. Let's bring up all classic to the day. This is a throwback classic codes, y'all. It's funny that we get to say that. And y'all going to get the intro today.
Classic codes, I ain't taking it slow. Forgive me, Lord, I woke up in that mode. What if the witches were left in the cold?
Yo, it's Classic with the classic codes. We got another reaction, but before we get into it, I need you to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop comments as we go along so we can have a conversation. We got to crack these codes, man. Today we're going over to Danica Marie Dope Discussions. First time sliding over to do a reaction on her content. I'm looking forward to it, and y'all know I ain't about wasting no time, so let's roll.
We are now at a point to where women are being cornered and forced into having to approach and pursue men. Now, mind y'all, for a very long time, a lot of women argued against this. This is something that is considered to be masculine, something that is considered to be degrading and demeaning for a woman to do, all because we were taught and indoctrinated to have a man chase you. Now, notice I said chase, okay? And y'all like the video, share the video, and subscribe. But we have to break this down. For a very long time, women were taught to have a man to chase her. What does that mean? That means make it seem as though you are hard to get. You are not something that is an easy feat, if you will. So if ever a man has any kind of interest in you, make sure that you are putting up as many obstacles as possible to make it difficult for him to, I don't know, catch you. It's really, really silly when you think about it, okay? And very childish. You know, like, who has time to chase and catch somebody? Like, please, we are not playing freeze tag. If you like somebody, let them know. And what made it so much more of a childish thing to me is because of the fact of it being this instance of women not only making men chase her if he, again, found some kind of liking or interest in her, but even if she liked him back, you still make that man jump through hoops and loops of fire because, again, you are the prize. And it made things 1,000 times worse when women started to introduce into a man's, I guess, chasing or pursuit of her, you know, this thing of if she did not like him, filing false charges on him, false claims on him, and really beating him down, tearing him down, and just making a whole scene out of nothing. You know, if I don't like you, oh, baby, I'm calling me too. I'm calling the police. I'm going to blast you on social media.
All right, look, hold on, because she listen, she got the crock pot out, she got the skillet out, she got the spatula out, she got the, you hear me? She cooking. I don't know if I'm gonna agree with everything she said. I don't know if I agree with all of it, but the way she rounded her points, you know, I can't say I'm more on her side than not. I'll tell you that right now. She cooking. Let's go.
Call you a creep. As a matter of fact, I'll even go as far as ridiculing you to your face. I'll tell you, boy, please, why are you talking to me? Why are you in my face? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Don't you know you're too short? Don't you know you're too ugly? Don't you know you're too dusty? Like all these things. And so now we are in a position to where men in general are like, forget it.
On phone now, look, hey, what we be saying? I like who like me. Yep. That's code for show me something. Ain't no more me guessing whether or not that was a choosing signal or if we made our.
Look, y'all, I say this all the time. I'm a big fan of people who like me. I'm a big fan of people who like me. And I really only like people who like me. If I find out you don't like me and I got you around, you won't be around very much longer. I say this way too much. So I'm glad that somebody else is saying it too.
Contact by accident. Ain't no guessing. I'm not finna go over here and get rejected trying to find out I was wrong. I thought she was looking at me. She was looking past me at the nigga on the sidewalk. I'm just making it up as I go, but you get what I'm saying? Mugs tired of running around being crash dummies for rejection. Hey, look, I'm from the crib. I'm from Chicago. I come from a place where women get fly, get dressed up, get together, go out to the club just to tell niggas no all night and accept every free drink. Yup, I'm from it. They tell, and it ain't, listen, you got dudes in the club, they pulling females. I'm one who oftentimes, if y'all see me in the club, I probably was in a section, you know what I mean? So there will be women around and stuff like that. But just as far as like, you see something from across the room, walk up and just what's it called? Cold approach on that in Chicago. Yeah, good luck. You better be flashing money, boy. You better be flashing something. You better be flashy. You better be flashy, folks, or it's not gonna happen for you, Captain. Yeah. And now niggas like, shit, man, look, I'm on my purpose. I'm finna go get me some bread. I'm finna go to the gym. I'm finna, niggas is waking up. Hey, man, Mug's tired of these dudes out here is tired of being crash dummies. I done been a crash dummy before. I done crashed out behind a female before. Not crashed out like what y'all thinking, but I'm saying like made poor decisions. You know what I mean? Type shit. So you get to a point, you get over that. You over that. Hey, man, we ain't on that. I work too hard. Type shit.
I'm not ever going to pursue a woman, let alone chase her, please. I'm never going to talk to a woman, pay a woman a compliment. Like, it is that bad, you all. Women have cried wolf so much that men don't even want to touch a woman, compliment a woman.
No, you lying. We gonna always want to touch a woman.
Always.
We gonna we gonna always want to
I don't agree. Always.
Compliments, nah. You know what I'm saying? You gotta measure her spirit from a distance, see if she can take a compliment. Because that can go left too. You could just be trying to give a compliment and she'll reject you like you was trying to shoot your shot.
Which is baffling. You know, I don't spend a lot of time approaching people. Why would I? But the question of the day for me is this true? You know, I've heard a lot of stories about this, and I'm starting to think that it is true. You know, I need y'all to tap in with the classic codes and go check out Classic's library of videos that he's put out, especially the ones that, you know, maybe you guys weren't around for. There's a whole lot of content there, and y'all should go and check it out. maybe we should start recycling some of these concepts. Maybe that's what we should do. But that's the classic codes for today. We're going to move into the next section of today's episode, and that's the random video of the day, which is random story time. Let's bring back story time on this wonderful Friday evening.
So I didn't find out who my father was until I was 30 years old, and that's no shade to my mom. She had told me when I was younger that there was a chance that the man who I thought was my father wasn't my father. And when I turned 30 years old, I decided to do an ancestry DNA test because I just wanted to know things just weren't adding up and I needed some closure. So I did the ancestry DNA test. I waited for the results to come back, and when they came back, it was just as I assumed. I found out that I was Middle Eastern, which I already knew. The man that my mom was dating was Middle Eastern. He was from Iraq, and there was also some Ethiopian and Eritrean that gave me like 10%, and that didn't come from my mom. So I was just like, okay, this is interesting. So when I did the ancestry DNA test, it matched me to a cousin that was an architect, spent half of his time in Dubai, half of his time in Orange County. He reached out to me and let me know that, you know, we had matched and we were connected as like first cousins, right? So he started to talk more and more to me, and we started to realize that his grandmother and my grandmother were sisters. So I was like super excited. I was so happy. Mind you, you guys, I've never seen a picture of my dad. And might I add, by the time I found out who my father was, I did the research to look for him, found out that he was dead, and I got his death certificate from City Hall in San Francisco. So me and my cousin would continue to talk, and he was just helping me kind of put the pieces together. He showed me some pictures of my grandmother and his grandmother sitting together, and obviously I'm very curvy. I saw exactly where I got the curves from, my Middle Eastern grandma. So we started to talk more. He started to tell me about family that I had in LA.
She said grandma was thick. I don't know what she looks like. This is my first time watching a video of her. But she said grandma was thick, and she said she is too. I'm just going to take her word for it, all right? I'm not going to her profile. As you can see, it's posted on there. I don't want to see what type of content she makes. I just want to keep watching this video as our random video of the day.
So he told me about my aunt. My aunt was or is, I don't know if she still is, a doctor. She was an OBGYN doctor in LA. And he told me about my cousins and things like that. So once I figured out who my aunt was, like he talked to me about it, I had looked her up. I had Googled her. So then I had reached out and called her. And I remember calling, and I think that her husband had answered the phone, and then he gave the phone to her. And when I talked to her, she told me that she was too old to be dealing with things like this. And there was also some statement made that, you know, that my father, her brother, would never have a daughter that looked like me. You know, I was highly offended, and I don't know if it's because I'm mixed with black or whatever the case may be, but it offended me so much. So I was also connected to my aunt's daughter on Ancestry. So her and I had reached out to her, and I told her, you know, like, I don't want anything from my anything from you guys. I just want to know my family. I've never seen a picture of my dad. I don't know what he looks like. Although my mom and him dated, I guess they kind of lost contact, and then he died. So I don't have any pictures of him. I know that I look like my mom and stuff like that, but I just have never seen him. So I reached out to my cousin, and I was just telling her, like, you know, I just want to know my family. I don't want anything from you guys. I don't really know if there's any health conditions or anything like that, and I just want to know. And she basically was just like, as far as she knows, there's no health conditions that I should be concerned about. And she kind of just left it at that. I reached out to my aunt again, and she basically told me that, you know, her daughter advised her. I don't know if it was that I reached out to her or my cousin did, that was in Dubai. Reached out to her, and she said that, you know, her daughter is an attorney, and her daughter advised her that I could be a scammer, and that was my father was conditions or anything like that.
So basically, they're thinking that she's trying to get money out of them, and they wouldn't be wrong for maybe thinking that, especially if they live in Dubai and they have a sizable inheritance and or fortune. You know, him dying with no kids, would automatically revert whatever portion of inheritance that he had to them. And they're thinking, well, if he had kids in America and maybe they're not real kids, maybe they just found this guy's name and they're trying to get some of his money, because I mean, everybody knows the state that America's economy is in right now. I guess I can't blame them for immediately thinking that, but it's kind of rude.
I just want to know. And she basically was just like, as far as she knows, there's no health conditions that I should be concerned about. And she kind of just left it at that. I reached out to my aunt again, and she basically told me that, you know, her daughter advised her. I don't know if it was that I reached out to her or my cousin did, that was in Dubai. Reached out to her, and she said that, you know, her daughter is an attorney, and her daughter advised her that I could be a scammer and that she shouldn't talk to me, and that she's just too old to be dealing with stuff like this once again. So I kind of stepped back. I was very annoyed. I still continued to do a lot of research because I was just like, there has to be some type of picture somewhere of my dad. I called the facility that he passed away in, and they didn't have any pictures. They said that was very private information. I went to the cemetery. The Muslim cemetery was where he was buried, and looked for him for hours, and I never found him. I spoke to the head of the Muslim cemetery, and he basically told me that if he was able to find him, he would let me know. And then I continued to talk to my cousin, but then my cousin started to become very inappropriate. He was married, and he had made a comment along the lines of, if he would have met me years before, him and I would have dated. And I was just like, no, we would have never dated because I'm your cousin. And he said second cousins. And that really rubbed me the wrong way, because he would also like go to the gym and like send me pictures of him with his shirt off. And I was just like, this is just so inappropriate. Like, I don't know. Anyway, I started to discontinue that relationship, and that communication with him. But I also could tell he had a wife, and his wife, I could tell that, you know, she was bothered. I would be bothered too, because your husband honestly is a piece of crap. But anyway, nonetheless, as I get older, it's just it kind of sucks, you know, because I would like to see a picture of my dad, for one. For two, like, my family on my dad's side never even really gave me a chance. Never really gave me a chance. To think that my aunt is a doctor and she would see patients every single day and take the time out to spend time with those people, to diagnose them, to help them, and you don't even have the kindness in your heart to talk to your niece. I just will never understand that. I know she has pictures. I know that there's so much that I don't know, and it just really bothers me. Maybe I don't fit into their box. Maybe maybe they're more conservative. I don't know what the case may be, but it bothers me a lot. You know, like, I just think about that, like, dang, like, what did I do to you? Like, at the end of the day, I'm just the child. But anyway, y'all, I know that was a long story time. And if you guys have any questions, I can always do a part 2. Okay, bye.
Maybe one day we'll check in and we'll see if there was a part 2 that was available for this. Maybe we will. But as of right now, we're not going to do that. The title of the episode today is You're Not Welcome. And I think we've seen that in all of these situations that we've gotten to watch, including this one, which, you know, was strange because I didn't think that was what this video was going to be about. But it's really good because she wasn't welcome, not even into her own family. At that point, I totally understand looking for her father and trying to find out what he looked like and trying to find out more about him. But I think she's hit a dead end. And we might check in at another point in time to see if that was something that she was able to resolve. But I'm not positive that she was, or that it was going to be a thing. So I mean, we didn't get a question of the day today, and I think that we did enough talking. So it's been 24. I'm 24. This has been Sports Unscripted and Culture Unfiltered. I'll see you guys on Monday. Have a nice weekend, everybody. Enjoy yourselves. Be safe. And I'm so ready for another True Crime Monday. I got some stuff that I've been brewing for y'all that I want to talk about and I want to watch and get some updates on, maybe some cases that we already looked at. And I think that the whole episode might be the True Crime Monday episode. What do you guys think? Leave some comments. You know, find me on social media at SoulReaper24 on Instagram, and Go check out my constituents. Go check out the coalition. Go check out the coalition. Guys, get ready. I'm dropping nuggets here. Get ready for what's about to come next. But go check out the coalition. That's the Classic Codes. That's Uncle Plug TV. That's Conversations with Soft Rain. And that's Souls of Thought. Go to Souls of Thought's channel as we review a lot of his videos over and over again. You know, give them a like, give them subscribe. Make sure that you like and subscribe this video. And I'll see you guys on Monday for True Crime Monday. Thank y'all for showing up today. I appreciate you. I truly do. This has been a blast.